What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of the Closers Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Marco Alvarado. Joining me today at the tail end of this episode to give our weekly recommendations is Quinn the Mood Dog Kalani. However, he is not on the interview portion of this episode with Brianna Carmel. He felt like it would be best to sit out this interview, given the pretty serious subject matter that Brianna and I talk about. We talk about, sexual misconduct, assault, and grooming within the music community. We also discuss, slightly like the gaming community, but generally we talk about within the music community. Quinn, being not a musician, didn't feel necessarily comfortable jumping into the convo. Totally understand. He's going to be back next week where we talk to one of my pretty good friends, Gabriella, and she's pretty into true crime and things of that nature. So we're going to talk about that next week. So you'll hear Quinn back on the interview portion of the show for next week. But regarding this episode, Brianna and I, like I said, talk about the allegations regarding Burger Records and Uncool Records, and also her experience that she wants to share in the vein of what happened with Uncool and Burger Records. It's, as always, she talks very candidly, very openly about her experiences, and hopefully it resonates with some of you. So yeah, without any further ado, here is that interview. Alright guys, so here we have Brianna Carmel. Hooray! She's back! Yay! How are you?
Doing all right. I'm feeling pretty zen right now, actually.
That's good to hear. I am as well. I like the new hair, by the way. For those of you who cannot see, which is everybody can't see, actually.
Yeah.
She has pink hair now, so that's cool.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Thank you.
What? Your hair's naturally like darker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did you use 30 volume to get it lighter, or?
I used like 40.
Oh shit! You went
Yeah.
hardcore. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I might have. Yeah, I just grabbed the first thing I saw at Sally's, honestly.
Nice.
So,
They're open right
yeah.
now? I didn't think they'd be open.
As long as you wear a mask and stuff, you can go in and buy stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Okay.
And social distance and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Have you been able to go out a little bit more? Or are you still like pretty steadfast in the quarantining?
I'm kind of keeping a balance, I guess. Like there are certain, because for a while I was like just in my house, just seeing my family.
Yeah.
Now I get together with Josiah sometimes. I get together with my dad sometimes. Because my parents are divorced.
Right.
Backstory. So yeah, I guess, and we've all like been tested and stuff.
Oh, that's
so,
good.
Yeah.
That's real good. Yeah, I've been trying to get out more myself, but it's like I feel guilty whenever I go out, even like to get food, because it's like, man, like things are not getting really any better like with the virus.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do my part, but at the same time it's like I need to go out and like get food, and I know that those are pretty low risk activities, but even with the low risk stuff, I'm like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing lots of like delivery and takeout.
Yeah.
I don't really like going to restaurants right now.
Yeah, Postmates, lifesavers.
Yeah.
They're the best. Yeah. It's weird though, because I ordered some fast food the other day from Postmates, and like I was watching them on my phone. You can like see their progress like to your place. And I was watching them go, and they like totally drove by my house and just kept going, and like went like a good like 5 miles south, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
So I like,
That happens to me sometimes too.
really?
My house is kind of in a weird area. It's
Mm-hmm.
like right next to an alley, so a lot of people miss it. They're driving by. I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird because then I called them and then instantly they turned around. So I was like,
Yeah.
were they trying to steal my food? Or was it like, or was it like, did they really get lost? I don't
Yeah.
know. It'll remain a mystery, but how's the music been? How's it been going?
It's been good. There's finally a project name for me and Josiah's project,
Ooh,
as you've seen on social
what
media.
is it?
Blooming Heads.
I
Yeah.
like it. Where did that come from?
Um, I had to do a lot of thinking. I knew I wanted it to be about like because Cresca, my old band,
Mm-hmm.
was that's like a Latin word that means like to grow.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be like the theme of the band or whatever.
Right.
And since that situation was kind of toxic and ended badly, I kind of wanted something that had that same theme of like growing and being in a good headspace or something.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
That makes
But
sense.
yeah.
Like
So
some like a state of mind to strive for, kind of.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Nice. That's cool. I like the name. I'm honored that I was able to make some art for you guys as well.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for
Of
that.
course, yeah. I'm glad you guys liked it. I was nervous. I was like, oh, I hope they are okay with this.
No, it
But
was beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I love making cover art and stuff. It's fun for me. So I
Yeah.
appreciate the opportunity. But there's been some pretty interesting, to say the least, and to put it very lightly, interesting.
Yeah.
Put it very lightly, stuff that's kind of arisen within the music, the music community as a whole, and specifically like our kind of community. Like, I wouldn't say like the Sacramento music community, I think, is made up of a lot of different like genres and subgenres. Like, there's
Yeah,
not like one
it
sound
is.
that defines the Sacramento music scene. Which I would you agree with that too?
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, it can be a little bit cliquey.
You think so?
Not like in a bad way necessarily,
Uh huh.
but I think because, I don't know. Maybe that was the wrong word to use, but I just think that, I don't know, like, I mean, I try to kind of have different genres for my own shows and stuff,
Yeah.
but I feel like since a lot of promoters are like exclusively punk or exclusively power violence or whatever, like
Oh, I see.
a lot of people stay in their own scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like a good reasoning for that. Like it's always really cool to play with other sorts of genres because like people that wouldn't otherwise hear your music would.
Yeah.
But I understand why you'd want to kind of stick with your own like like your own genre like of bands because
Yeah.
it makes kind of sense. Like, I don't know, some people want to go to a show and they know what type of music it is instantly, like they don't want the surprise, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I try to do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mix it up.
Yeah. But I would say that like you and me definitely fall more in like the emo scene. Is that fair to say? Would you classify that as even a scene, or like
I don't know.
emo
I would
scene?
use the word, yeah. I would use the word indie.
Indie, okay. So
Not necessarily as a music descriptor,
yeah.
but just like as a way to describe the community, or maybe DIY. I
Okay,
don't
the
know.
DIY community, the DIY music
Yeah.
community. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there are definitely like some overlaps when it comes to sound, from the like groups that about to mention right now,
Hmm.
specifically the bands from like Burger Records, and
Hmm.
there's what was the other label that
Uncool
Uncool
Records.
Records. There's
Yeah.
definitely some influences of those label sounds that have permeated into the DIY scene slightly. Maybe not. Some bands, have dove headfirst into that sound more than others, of course.
Yeah.
Which is good music and all, but there's been some recent accusations and allegations levied at many bands that were in. I know I'm not too familiar with Uncool Records, but I know for Burger Records, like they had to shut down entirely because of these accusations
Yeah.
against bands like Swimmers and the what are they called? Oh, the Growlers, the Frights, the Buttertones, the Cosmonaut, or just Cosmonauts. What has been your reaction to these allegations coming out?
Oh boy. Okay. That's a big question.
Yeah.
So basically I've found it to be kind of triggering, for lack of a better word.
Right.
Because I talked a little bit about like my experiences in Kreska the first time I was on, and like the relationship that I was in with the like leader of that band.
Yeah.
Slash bandmate, whatever.
Right.
When I was talking about all the stuff with Kreska and that relationship I was in at the time, I don't think I used the word abuse, but like that's what it was.
Right.
And I didn't even get into like everything. It like specifically with after Kreska and before the band I'm in now, Blooming Heads, and even before like the solo stuff that I've been doing for a while, there was a whole another band that I was in that I didn't really talk about at all.
Yeah.
Because I had formed this band with another bandmate from Kreska after Kreska had broken up. And this bandmate was in a relationship with a minor for some of the time that Kreska was together and all of the time that this other band was together.
Right.
So yeah, I wrote this thing that was originally just supposed to be like a way for me to keep track of what I was talking about and like reference what I was talking about.
Right.
And it ended up turning into like a statement of sorts about like, I don't know. A lot of this, the reason I'm hesitating so much is because I've kept a lot of this, like I've never really spoken publicly about this before.
Right.
So I'm a little bit on edge, but we'll be fine.
No, I totally understand.
And I care a lot about the person who was a minor when they were dating.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just trying to tread lightly. So I guess I'll just read this. So yeah, I'll just start from the top and read this.
Yeah, go for it.
Grooming is overwhelmingly prevalent in our society and is difficult to spot as a result. This is because anyone can be groomed to do anything, negative or positive, and anyone can participate in grooming in a negative or positive way. It doesn't have to be within the context of an adult abusing a minor. I sent an article about this to Marco. People with power in the music scene grooming and abusing minors isn't new. I made a whole YouTube video about how both the producer and manager of the 1970s all-female rock band, The Runaways, were extremely predatory towards the members of the band who were all teenagers. I personally have been groomed, abused, bullied, and/or deceived by multiple people in the local music scene, only a couple of which I'm willing to discuss. I will be keeping everything anonymous to respect another victim who has not responded to my recent attempts to reach out, and also because, to be frank, I'm still afraid of retaliation from a person who I will call my main abuser, the band leader / producer of Kreska that I was in a relationship with, who I spoke about a little bit my first time on the show. Some might criticize me for keeping the names of abusers anonymous, but I feel like this information isn't new to a lot of our community. I think a decent amount of people in the community will know who I'm talking about. I've discussed a lot of it plainly to members of the community and on social media in the past, as has the victim, the other victim. Some might also criticize me for coming forward with my perspective without being able to get the victim's consent.
Mm-hmm.
And while that is valid and causing me a lot of internal conflict, I simply feel like it's time for me to not only speak my truth, but also acknowledge what I did wrong in the situation, and to acknowledge that I was inadvertently complicit in a former bandmate's actions. I was being abused myself, and that influenced my initial perception, but I feel like that is an explanation and not an excuse. If I do offend the victim or anyone else, or otherwise fuck up in any way, I sincerely apologize in advance. I was a witness to some inappropriate behavior with a minor who was about 16 years old by my 19-year-old bandmate in Kreska while I was being abused by the leader of Kreska. My abuser and I were both 18 at the time, and Kreska had been active for 2 years. About 2 more years later, I learned that said inappropriate behavior and the subsequent relationship with the minor had been even worse than I feared. It was abuse, plain and simple. Before I learned how bad it really was, I went on to form another band with said bandmate after Kreska broke up. I recognize now that this was my bandmate's relationship with a minor. I done something or said something to show that I didn't approve or to protect the minor. And for that, I am truly sorry. And there's a lot more to be said, but I wanted to start with that.
Okay. So I think stemming from that point, I think the most important thing that we can do now, and I'll directly address what you just stated right now, but I think the most important thing is to talk about grooming specifically and kind of jump into that article that you sent me a couple days ago, because it's a really interesting perception, or not even perception, just like it's really interesting how the author, her name is let me see, Jessica Taylor, Dr. Jessica Taylor. She's a psychologist. When people think of grooming, people think of something that is inherently harmful. And what she claims is that grooming actually isn't inherently harmful. We actually groom, like, people get groomed every day to, like, perform jobs, or even when you're getting raised as a kid, like, your parents are grooming you specifically to be, to fit in our society or to fit into the household, and doing things like that. Or if you're in a band, you're getting groomed to fit a certain role in that band. You know, that inherently isn't a negative thing. And that actually is the reason why it's so hard to spot, like, when an abuser is grooming somebody specifically just to abuse them, because we get groomed all the time. So it actually removes blame from the victim when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to look at what you just said through the lens of grooming happens all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So would you agree with that, or?
Oh yeah, I would completely agree with that. I'm so glad I don't know. I'm just really glad we are on the same wavelength.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense to me. It makes perfect sense. So now to go back to what you said, and with that definition of grooming in our minds, and that, you know, seeing that grooming happens all the time, is, so what you witnessed, when did they get together is when my
they got together. So what I witnessed happened when we were still in Kreska.
Okay.
And that's when they got together.
Okay.
But they didn't really, this was like within the context of, like, we were going to have a band practice, and this bandmate said, can I bring my friend, redacted
Yeah.
over to the practice?
Uh-huh.
And I recognized the name because I had met this person at Kreska shows. I was 18 at the time, like I said, and this person was like, I don't know, when I met them, they were 16, and this was very shortly after I met them.
Mm-hmm.
And my bandmate was like 19.
Okay.
I just remember thinking, like, the 16-year-old, like, that's kind of weird, but I guess if they're friends, like,
yeah,
whatever, like, because, I like them. They came over to the practice, and
mm-hmm.
we practiced, and then we hung out afterwards, and immediately, like, the two of them were just it wasn't anything ridiculous. They were just very cuddly. But it really, like, I mean, it was kind of ridiculous because they were 16, like,
yeah,
so, like, it really rubbed me the wrong way, but I didn't know how to say anything in that particular moment.
right.
And I really wish I did. I wish I had at least been like, so how old are you again, kid?
Yeah.
Or something. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, but I know that after everyone had gone home, I tried to bring it up to my partner,
mm-hmm.
my abuser.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what was said exactly. I just know I brought up that I was concerned, like, about their age, and he was basically just like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And so that really, like, I don't know. If I wasn't in that particular relationship, and if I had a little bit more of a stable sense of self,
right,
I probably would have said something,
mm-hmm.
but that just wasn't the case.
So you feel slightly guilty over not saying something?
Yeah. Or just, like, I wish I had at least, like, I don't know. Because it's hard to know how that would have changed anything.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I wish I had at least, like, made it known that I wasn't okay with it. This isn't relevant to the music scene necessarily, but
yeah,
I have another friend who was in a relationship with, like, someone who was in his 20s when she was, like, 16, 17. And there was, like, a house party going on, basically.
mm-hmm.
And the two of them showed up, and the, what's it called? The owner of the house, basically, like, the person who lived there, was like,
yeah,
this girl's way too young. You both need to leave, like, right now. Like, and I wish I had at least, like, done something like that.
Oh, I see. Been more,
you know
like,
what I mean?
Yeah, been assertive about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. How long ago was this, by the way?
I was 18 at the time, and I'm 22 now.
Right. Okay. So everything with Burger Records and was it Uncool Records? Is that what the other one?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything with those two record labels happened, like all the allegations against bands in those labels, resurfaced these memories for you? Or is this something that you've been thinking about previously, and now with the current climate, do you feel like it's more important to talk about now because of everything?
I guess that would be more accurate. Yeah. It kind of, like, because it has been, like, swimming around in my head for a long time.
Right.
Like, I never planned to, like, speak about it or anything.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of, I don't know, like, the more time passed and the more these stories came out, like, the more that guilt, I guess, kind of started to fester or whatever.
I see. Okay.
Like, when you asked me if I wanted to come on again, I just kind of viewed it as a good opportunity to, like, speak my truth or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I always kind of feel that way about coming on here.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, that's why we love having you on, because people love honesty and authenticness and genuineness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm saying, but just being real and being true.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for people to do that on a day-to-day level. Like, people, well, maybe not so much now, because when you're just like in your room and you're just kind of like thinking about things, it's very easy to like reflect and be truthful with yourself. But in the before times, oh shit, I hit my guitar. In the before times, people would be so busy doing their day-to-day things that you go to work, you have to put on kind of a face to like project to your coworkers and to your customers and to your employer, and like you have to go to school and you have to act a certain way, and like, so to hear somebody open up and be 100% truthful and be honest with your feelings of, in this case, guilt, like that's a good thing. It's healthy to hear people kind of be real with themselves, because it inspires for others to do the same. My follow-up question would be then, so everything that we're seeing with your story and with the record labels, with Burger Records actually shutting down and stuff, and I already know the answer to this, but I have to ask it. Is this indicative of a bigger problem within the music community in general, or is this just isolated to that type of music, that like indie, like kind of like Burger Kid rock music?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a society problem in general.
Okay.
Because it's not even specific to the music community. Like, I don't know if you've heard about this, but even like the Smash community.
Yeah, I just talked about that. I talked about that a couple weeks ago on closing out the week. Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah. So like, it's everywhere. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think has to happen for those sorts of for that kind of behavior to kind of to go away?
Oh man.
Do you have any ideas? Because I have some.
I don't know. I feel like it starts with taking accountability, kind of similar to what I'm trying to do, I guess. Like
talk about it.
Yeah, just talk about it.
Yeah, like just be communicative of it.
Yeah.
And experiences and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I do want to say that like my experience isn't necessarily like, because there's my experience and then there's the experience of this other person that I'm talking about, and they're different. I don't know. I was going to say that I wasn't like my abuser wasn't older than me.
Right.
But I do kind of feel like there was still a position of power, since he was kind of like the leader of the band and kind of decided whether I stayed or went, Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
But... No, I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think I agree with you. With accountability is definitely at the cornerstone and the crux of what has to happen. And I think too, these conversations have to be had more, because it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to talk about. It's uncomfortable to hear. It makes you, makes me feel sad and like, guilty for things that I had no part of either. So like, I totally understand, but I think hearing about it and seeing the stories of these people on social media who have been abused, taken advantage of by not just members of the music community, but people, like you said, in the gaming community, people in the film industry, just entertainment in general is like ripe for that sort of behavior for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why, but I think hearing how often it happens is going to make people be more diligent to stop that kind of behavior and look for the signs of it, even though they're really tough to spot sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's also just about like supporting people through it when it happens to them.
Right.
Yeah.
No, That is very true. And I just want to quickly say that there is actually a national sexual assault telephone hotline for people. If anyone listening to this does need that, it is 1-800-656-4673. And there you'll be routed to a local RAIN affiliate organization based on the first 6 digits of your phone number, and then you'll get support for whatever you need. So if anybody needs that, just thought I'd toss that in there too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, very, very helpful. I don't know, you've been to like Warped Tour before, correct? Have you been to Warped Tour?
Actually, I haven't been to Warped Tour.
Okay.
But that does remind me, I mean, this is kind of a weird example, but like Johnny Craig is from Sacramento.
Yeah. God, yeah, Johnny Craig. Jeez.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know who Johnny Craig is, he was the former Dance Gavin Dance frontman, and also he was a member of Slaves, I believe, and he got kicked out of both bands. He's been in and out of rehab, and also has he had a girlfriend who has famously called him out for abusing her. Called him out for abusing her.
Yeah.
And I believe she's pressing charges too. So it's a pretty big deal with Johnny Craig. Yeah. Oh, man.
And the reason I brought that up is because I'm pretty sure she was like a fan of his.
Okay, yeah, she was, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me how when I would go to Warped Tour, I never thought of that as being like a place where older guys would be actively looking for underage girls to like hit on and like attract and you know, and abuse. Like, I never thought that when I was there, but now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that makes such
complete sense.
That makes such a that makes way too much sense. And it's like, that's like, it makes me disgusted. And it also ties into the whole Super Smash Brothers community thing, because with that, like, gaming conventions are a lot like Warped Tour in the sense of you have a young fan base coming to see people who are older than them, who they idolize, like, play video games. But in Warped Tour's case, it's a young fan base going to see older people they idolize who play emo and like punk music. It's like the perfect atmosphere and they built like an ecosystem just for that. And then everything regarding like Davi Vanity recently.
I was just thinking that.
Were you? Yeah. Who was part of he like created Blood on the Dance Floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And God, just so much bad things that have occurred and have come to light recently. Have you heard about so you have heard about the whole Davi Vanity thing?
I have, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, how he was on the, what's it called? What's that one guy, the Catch a Predator?
Chris Hansen.
Yeah, Chris Hansen's been on his tail for like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's insane. And like a couple of the people that Davi Vanity has like abused over the years, like went on the Chris Hansen show and like talked to him about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's interviewed like multiple victims.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because just the things that Davi did, where like he would talk to, like he was like my age, I'm 23, and he would actively like seek out like 13-year-old girls and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just,
that's like the most.
It's just like, why? Like, I don't understand.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I just don't get it. It's just, it's crazy. I just hope that from this, there's just, there's positiveness that comes out from this situation and this time, like with COVID and with the social unrest that's happening and with the election and stuff. Like it does feel like we're going through like a shedding of skin, it's like if our lives are a snake Like the
Yeah.
skin of that life is getting shedded right now, and we're gonna have a new shell to call our home that will be a little bit different from the world we once knew. I hope, but I don't know.
Yeah. I would love that.
I know, yeah, me too. I hope so. So, going back to your your situation with your ex band.
Hmm.
So you do have contact with that person who was underage, like still?
I don't anymore. I tried to reach out to them a couple times, and
Nothing.
it didn't work.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I was,
mhm.
I don't know.
So at the time with your situation where one of your ex bandmates started dating somebody who was underage,
Mhm.
that was a couple years ago. Do you feel like the social climate has shifted in a place that has made it wrong? Because I feel like it would have been wrong back then too. But do you think it's even more wrong now than it was at the time, or do you think that it's always been at that level of wrongness? I guess I could say, for lack of a better word, but just nobody was talking about it or nobody wanted to address it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's definitely just, a lack of people wanting to address it. I don't know if it's like society as a whole or like just because I only know what I saw in my like social circle. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. There were definitely, I don't know. It was just a toxic social circle, I guess. And
Right.
so I don't know. It was just bad. A lot of things got like
Yeah.
pushed under the rug, I guess.
So you don't think that society, like the conversations we're having now with like the Black Lives Matter movement, or um, you know, any of the other social kind of consciousness, like the wokeness that has happened, especially on
Hmm.
social media, you don't think that's influenced this?
Oh,
That's what I was kind of referring to. I should
yeah.
have been more clear
Well,
about that.
yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah. No, I definitely think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that in the future, um, like from now on, the new standard? Because I know for like, I don't know when it changed. Um, I mean, probably way before you and I were born. Like it
Hmm.
was frowned upon for like someone underage to be in a relationship with someone who is over the age of 18, like considerably over the age of 18.
Hmm.
Do you think now, once concerts come back and the music community and the different local communities can like spring back up and put on shows and do
Hmm.
things, do you think people are going to be more diligent about like checking other people and making sure that they're not like making anyone feel uncomfortable, or if they see somebody who is in a relationship with somebody who is younger, like do you think more people are going to say something?
I hope so. I know, like, that's my intention,
Mm-hmm.
like, personally.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, we can only hope. I know, oh man, did you see that? What is it? It's not a petition, but it's like there was this thing going on Twitter where like DIY bands can sign it and like pledge not to harm
Oh,
young girls
yeah, I
or
saw that. I
whatever.
saw
I
that.
thought that was pretty, I don't know.
I thought that was pretty cheesy. Honestly, I feel like
Yeah.
that's way more like grandstanding than anything,
Yeah.
because I feel like actions speak way louder than words. Like it's it brings up the question too. Do you think you can separate the art from the artist? Like, do you think you can still like should people feel like they're not supporting the artist when they listen to music from somebody who has been kind of outed as like not the greatest person?
Honestly, I think it's kind of, how do I put it? I think it's up to the individual consumer, I guess,
Yeah.
to decide like how they feel about it. I know like I don't know, like, this is a weird example, I guess. Like, it's really hard for me to listen to Kreska,
Yeah.
but I felt weird, or I felt kind of, I don't know. I didn't want to take our music down because I knew that there were people who enjoyed our music,
Right.
and I didn't want to like take that away.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Honestly, I could talk a little bit about this. I don't know if you've heard about like stuff David Bowie has been accused of.
Oh yeah, didn't he? He was in a relationship or something with someone underaged or
Yeah.
something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And despite that, like, I don't know. I guess he's a case where I shouldn't have said despite that, but like
Uh-huh.
he's kind of a case where like, because I cover one of his songs.
Yeah.
And the song of his that I cover is like very personal because of the experiences that I've had
Right.
that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm able to separate the art from the artist, I guess, like because of what it means to me.
Okay. I see. Personal attachment.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
So like, yeah, I get it just depends, man. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And I'm not gonna like, you know,
tell people what they should do or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if honestly, if I was at a show and if someone was like, "Could you not play that David Bowie song?" I would be like, "Oh, sure." You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not that deep, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand. I think it's different listening to the music as opposed to going to a show. It like
That's true.
Like if you were to go to a show for a band that was, outed as being like pretty shitty, then and I think that's very different than like listening to them on Spotify. They literally get less than a penny for every play,
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Everybody has a different stance on it, but that's interesting. That's really that's really cool. I think it's cool that you're not like, no, you have to be this, you have to think this way. Life is hard, man. Like, not
there's
everyone
lots
feels
of
the same stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of gray areas.
Very much. Feels like that's all life has been recently. It's all gray.
Yeah. Yeah.
But light will come soon, hopefully. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we kind of touched on everything that we were trying to. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we go?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Because the reason I was so nervous and the thing that I wanted to avoid was trying to make that other person's story like my own.
Right, okay.
Because that's not what I'm trying to do at all.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to take accountability for what I didn't do. And I don't know, I've just held on to this for such a long time, and I did genuinely try to reach out to the person.
Right.
And if I had been able to, I would have tried to talk to them about it.
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
I
just don't want anyone to think that I'm like trying to co-opt their story.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, because there's my own story that we didn't even really get into, but yeah, I guess that's it. I just don't want anyone to think that I'm like
trying to use their story for like your own sympathy or whatever.
Yeah, or like clout.
Yeah.
And I viewed this as a good opportunity to speak my truth. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just want you to know that, first of all, thank you for coming on and speaking candidly, as always. Always appreciate it very much. And also that in life, I think there's some situations that you always look back on and you really want to like kick yourself in the face for it because you feel like you didn't act enough or you did act too much or, you wish you could go back and correct things. And, there's always going to be some semblance of guilt somewhere deep down. I hope that through you talking about it on here, that you're able to work through that a little bit and be able to come to peace with what transpired, at least in that aspect of your experience in, you know, Kreska and the the band afterwards as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to say that
Well,
too.
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But all right, well, thank you again, Brianna. We appreciate you a lot, and we'll definitely talk to you soon, very soon.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you for having me.
Yeah. Take care.
You too.
Okay, guys, here we are with your weekly recommendations. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Brianna Carmel. Always a joy to have her on. Quinn is now joining me, and he has his first recommendation for us. I'm curious, what is it going to be, sir?
Well, my first recommendation is a album that came out 20 years ago. That if you're a listener to Sway in the Morning, then you know that it recently celebrated its 20th anniversary. It is a album that was exposed to me early on in my life and my hip hop fandom, and that album is Country Grammar by Nelly.
Huh? Never heard of it.
A seminal hip hop album, particularly for the Midwest. That really helped. It was one of the first mainstream, I guess you could say, it was one of the Nelly was one of the first artists from the Midwest to really cross over into a greater music scene. Not only within, national hip hop, but, cross racial boundaries across everywhere. If you were to turn on 102.5 The Party or 107.5 The River,
right,
then there's a strong chance you could be hearing a Nelly song.
That's cool. Is he from Kentucky?
No, he's from St. Louis.
Oh.
So have you never heard of Nelly?
I've heard of him. I just don't know anything about him.
Well, yeah, I would highly recommend Country Grammar. It's a really dope song. Really not dope song. Well, it's also a dope song, but it's a really good album. There are direct lines that you can trace from Nelly to, I guess what would be kind of sing-along, the kind of sing-song hip-hop of today.
Oh, okay.
So if one was interested in that, I think you could make some strong connections there. But
Gotcha.
Country Grammar by Nelly, I think, is a worthy album of recommendation.
Sweet. Well, I'll definitely give it a listen. That sounds interesting. Always looking for some new music, especially trying to get more into rap recently. So I'll definitely give it a shot. My first recommendation of the week is a 2019 album for one of my favorite artists, Drab Majesty. It is Modern Mirror. It is an 8-song album that is the follow-up album to 2017's their 2017 release, The Demonstration. They are a kind of like post-punk goth pop duo, and they put out very, very 80s centric tunes. So if you're into the synth pop of the 80s, the goth pop of the 80s, the post-punk of the 80s, definitely give Modern Mirror a listen. It was a staple for my summer playlist last year. I played it quite a bit, and I've been listening to it on repeat recently. It's just very catchy, upbeat, and I don't know, puts a smile on my face. I love the album. And Drab Majesty, I love their persona. They call themselves aliens, and they have the whole lore behind them and that they've created, and it's really awesome. They're from LA, and they're signed to Deus Records. Deus Records has some really, really awesome other artists on their lineup. So if you're interested in finding a more general fountain of music, I would also suggest to go down that little Deus Records rabbit hole and check out some of their other releases too, because they're always putting out music. So Modern Mirror by Drab Majesty is my recommendation for this week.
All right, very cool. My second recommendation is a film actually from 2007, written directed by Frank Darabont. If you're familiar with Frank Darabont, then you know he's written directed such classical films like Shawshank Redemption. The Mist, 2007 film, another Stephen King adaptation of a lesser known work of his. Kind of the interdimensional cosmic horror side of things. Stars Thomas Jane as the main protagonist. It's not a movie that I want to give anything away by, but if you're familiar with film, then you're familiar with this movie, as its ending is highly regarded as one of the most surprising left turn endings in the history of film. That differs from the source material. Actually, the ending is not the same ending from the work of Stephen King. It was actually written and changed for the film.
What's it called again?
It's called The Mist.
Okay.
It's a spectacular horror film. Beginning back into a lot of horror movies recently. And I highly recommend it. It's not some gore fest. It plays on the tropes of society and paranoia and fear, etc. Knowing that it's from Frank Darabont, who I think also did The Green Mile, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow.
And it's from Stephen King, so you're getting, at the very least, you're getting an entertaining story.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend The Mist, 2007.
Sweet. Yeah, I've been trying to watch some more horror movies too, so that's perfect. Perfect. Now, some of our listeners, some of our fellow closers may regard this as a horror fest for themselves, because we reside in Sacramento and we have a professional basketball team that is atrocious, and for some reason got blown out by the Orlando Magic today by almost 30 points. And I'm talking about, for my last recommendation, that NBA is back. Basketball is back. There's games on ESPN, on TNT, and on NBA TV, as well as if you're in a local market where there is a basketball team that is also in the Orlando bubble. They're showing that team's games on like the local channels too. But I've been watching some basketball recently, and man, the Kings look terrible. I thought that they would have at least a chance to get the ninth spot, to at least contest for a playoff spot, but it's looking like that's not even happening. There's no way. But some very cool surprises from the NBA bubble. The Nuggets have a player named Bol, who's Manute Bol's son, who's been balling. You also have T.J. Warren for the Indiana Pacers, who just dropped like 53 points on the Philadelphia 76ers yesterday. So there's some really, really great action, and honestly, you can put on any game and you're going to have a really great time. All these games have been really competitive, aside from this Kings game, because, I mean, it's the Kings. They love to disappoint their fans. But every other game that I've seen has been very close, hotly contested, and I would highly recommend, even if you're just a casual fan of the NBA, don't wait for the playoffs. Watch now. It is enjoyable. It is playoff caliber basketball. And I've definitely been enjoying watching it myself. So that is my last recommendation. Watch the NBA. It's a good time, definitely.
Big horror heavy episode, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a horror. Yeah, it's been nothing but, it's been a house of horrors. The Orlando bubble is a house of horrors for the Sacramento Kings. So that's It sucks because the Kings they played their second game today. They lost to the Spurs on Friday, and then they lost to the Magic today. Both of those were very winnable games, and they just goofed it up. And now they play some pretty formidable opponents. I forget who they're playing next, but I want to say the Mavericks, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for the Kings. They're probably gonna have to pack it up after their last game of the regular season, which is in about 2 weeks. So, yeah. Sorry, Kings fans. Sorry, Quinn. I know that your guys' hearts are just aching right now, but at least the Celtics are still in it, and they're going to be in the playoffs. So that's all I care about. With that, I guess I'll say please follow us on Instagram at The Closers Podcast, on Facebook at Closers Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are The Closers Podcast. Share the videos, share the episodes with your friends, your family, your significant others, and your favorite people. Because if you share these episodes with your favorite people, and then those favorite people share it with their favorite people, before we know it, we'll have a community full of just favorite people. It'll be really fun. It'll be really cool. So you should do that. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify or Stitcher or Apple Pods or Google Pods or wherever else you listen to your podcasts, so you can stay up to date with what we're doing. But yeah, without any further ado, I guess I'll bid you an adieu. Quinn, we'll see you.